Of our ongoing series, Asian Tiger, Udyan Mukherjee caught up with Mark Mobius of Templeton Emerging Markets Group and began by asking him on what he makes of the emerging market story right now. Let's take a listen in.
Do you think we have finally turned the tide in emerging markets?
I think we have, because everybody during the years ending at the beginning of last year, the 3 years where we are underperforming, everybody was concerned about interest rates in America. And they failed to realize that interest rates don't necessarily determine the direction of the market. Logically, you would think that higher interest rates would mean lower market and vice versa, but it's not always been the case in the last 10 years at least. So I think people are now beginning to wake up to that reality. And of course, they also realized that they were very underweight in emerging markets, so it's coming back.
But how much of it is momentum chasing? Because all markets are doing well now. So there is an element of that surely with the way ETFs are getting money. Do you think it's that, or do you think there's been a decisive fundamental turn once again in emerging markets?
Well, I think it's a number of things. First of all, I think people realized they were underweight.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that if you look at the global marketplace, the market capitalization of emerging markets is now 30+% of the total. So if you're less than 30, you're underweight. And if you look at exports, imports, GDP, the share of emerging markets is now over 40%. So that's one thing. People are beginning to wake up to that reality. Second thing is people realize that, hey, how long can the bull market in America last? Particularly with the, the whole change in the administration and so forth. Because some people, as I do, feel that Trump could give a boost to American growth, but it's dicey. It's not clear that will happen. So I thought a lot of people have beginning to realize we've made a lot of money in America, let's diversify. Where do you diversify to? Emerging markets, logical place. And the third thing is that people are looking at growth. And I know a lot of people have been worried about China growth, but they've already set a target at 6%, which I think is achievable. But India is growing at 7+. So that is having a big impact. Then you have Brazil having this incredible recovery, and Russia also had a big recovery. So a combination of all these things have led people to believe that maybe emerging markets are where they should be.
You think that there is a risk of destabilization of the market because the importance of ETFs today, the amount of money which is coming in, which comes in and goes out together?
Definitely, yes. There's definitely have an impact, because in the large giant ETF funds are buying the same stocks, and they basically end up controlling the market.
Do you think that risk of which people were talking about trade wars and what impact it might happen on emerging markets, was that overblown? Are you breathing a little easier now, or is it still too unpredictable and that risk is not off the table completely?
Well, I always felt that what Trump was saying and what he would be able to do once in office were two diametrically opposed things. At the end of the day, I always felt that he would not be able to institute the kind of trade war and other restrictions that he was talking about. And I think once we see the negotiations with the Chinese, the outcome of those negotiations, we'll probably see that there are things that the Chinese can do to assuage Trump's concerns. Because at the end of the day, that is the big picture. 340 billion trade deficit is giant. I mean, compared to Mexico, it's nothing. Mexico is nothing. So they have to attack that. And I think the Chinese will come to the table with something to give to Trump to make this situation not as severe as what it appears now.
You don't see that as one of the main risks for the market in 2017, though?
It is. It's definitely a risk. I mean, if we have a situation where they impose an import tax and a trade war begins, it's not going to be good for anyone, including the U.S. So hopefully that can be averted.
Okay, and you can catch this exclusive chat all through the day only on CNBC TV 18.